So Diane, if I understand it correctly, you've been dealing for a long time with a physical ailment that is considered by, I think, the medical professions and anybody else that you've dealt with as impossible, right?
Yeah, impossible in the sense that I've been told it was congenital. And when the professor, who was a specialist, diagnosed it, when he said it's congenital, he meant there's nothing much we can do about it because they have no treatment for it, or there is no treatment. At least there was none at the time.
Okay. And the ailment is, I've never heard of it. In fact, there's not even a name for it. Am I right about that?
Well, not that I know of. He just diagnosed that, well, maybe I should start from the beginning.
Sure.
I went to see that professor because I had issues with my veins in my legs, in the lower part of the legs.
Your veins, your blood veins.
My blood veins, yes. I couldn't stay standing up for very long. After maybe half an hour, depending on the days, you know, it would be, I would get tired and it would start hurting, and so I would have to sit down. And so after a while, and I had, you know, I was 20 and something, and I started having one too small, but very close vein, things like that. So I went to see that professor because he was very reputed and he was a specialist. And what he found is that doing all these tests and things, that the walls of my veins are too thin to pump the blood back up. So the blood goes down and has, you know, it's difficult for it to go back up because there's not enough strength. And so he said, you know, he showed me, he said, here you see, and of course it's not much I can see because I'm no specialist. So what is a too thin vein wall? I don't know. But anyway, he was explaining that it was too thin and there was nothing to do. I have to live with that and be careful and maybe put my legs up and do things like that. So, and take some pills to alleviate or make things better. So it was just meant to be all my life. And I can confirm it was congenital because my mother has this sort of issue and had it all her life. So she has exactly the same thing. So I was convinced that, you know, I had to live with it. And so I lived with it.
Okay. Well, this professor that you spoke with, I gather he's not an MD, a doctor?
Yes, he is. Of course he is.
Oh, he is. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
He's a specialist for the circulatory system.
Yeah, circulatory.
Yeah. Circulatory system.
English is not your first language. So.
No, it's not.
So you've had that for, I mean, all your life?
For a pretty long time. It started, the symptoms started to be, you know, painful to the point that I had to go see that MD when I was about mid 23, 24. So, yeah.
Okay. And so you, because it is congenital, you were told that you can't do anything about it, so you just had to live with it, et cetera, et cetera,
yes.
et cetera. Now, what the listeners need to understand here is that you are experienced with Optimal EFT. In fact, you are a director, along with your husband, of the Gary Craig official EFT training centers in the French language, correct?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. So at this stage, this is a fairly new thing, and you have, for the last few months, been dealing with websites and stuff, and a big responsibility felt by you to do this well, to be able to put it out in a way that is appropriate for the world to see and use and train with, and to deal with a number of people out there who may want to join with the website in the center and all of that. A lot of responsibility, and it was getting to you. I have that right?
That's right. We were having many discussions with Alain, my husband, how to do this, to build this well for everyone in the best possible ways. Yeah.
Okay, so this was getting to be in the area of my phrase. Okay, excess concern is really getting to you. So you and Alain had an optimal EFT session regarding that issue for you, correct?
That's right. So what happened is that it was just a normal working day, and we were discussing some things that we were to decide. We were trying to decide we do this like this or like that, and this had been ongoing because there were many things to deal with, and at one point, I just thought, maybe it's better if you do some optimal. But what I would like to say, just before I tell you the story, Gary, is that we've been doing regular EFT tapping for more than 10 years, or almost 15 years now. And this is something I had tapped for, this thing in my, because I thought I could try EFT for everything.
For the blood veins, you mean?
Yes, for the circulatory issue. And I've done quite a bit of tapping for that with little relief. So what happened is that I became convinced that, it was congenital. And of course, how could just the tapping make the walls of my vein thicker? So, it sort of made sense. But I really hoped that tapping would help, because it helped me for many other things. So this said, what happened that day is that we just did some optimal EFT for these issues related to, building that center in French. And so it was purely emotional stuff, I would say, and nothing at all to do with the veins and the blood circulation, nothing. I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah, okay. Let me stop you a second. The focus was on a current emotional issue.
Yes.
You weren't even, because the blood vein issue, the thin walls and all that, was impossible, congenital, or whatever. You just had to live with it. You weren't even thinking about that at the moment.
Well, not at all. Plus, it was an issue that it was an ongoing issue. It's every day of my life. So I sort of, live with it, and I didn't even think about it much, except for the times when it would start hurting because I'd be standing up for too long, a standing position for too long. But otherwise, it's just something I live with it, you just do with it.
Yes.
So that morning, I just wasn't thinking about it at all.
All right. So you had your session with Alain.
Yeah.
And then continue.
And then very quickly, actually, about in less than 10 minutes, I could. And before I go on again, I would like to specify some things that we have done quite a bit of optimal EFT. We're practicing quite a bit, like we did with the tapping, just to experience it, and it has helped us for many things. But some people in your videos report feeling things, and except for reliefs and resolution of issues, I don't recall feeling anything particular that as strongly as I did that morning with this session we're talking about.
You mean with the tapping, the previous tapping?
No, the previous optimal EFT.
Oh, even the previous optimal EFT.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. All right. Yeah.
And so this time I really had this feeling in my body, everywhere in my body, as electricity was going, but it was very delicate. It was light. It was in something very strong, but it was unusual. So I could, just thought, well, that's strange. Wow. But I didn't think much. We just kept doing it. But it got to the point where I started getting dizzy, and so I told Alain, I think I'll just go and lie down a little bit, because I don't feel that well. But it wasn't not feeling well unpleasant. It was not feeling well knowing that something was happening, and I just could feel something was going on. So I thought maybe, it's optimal. So I just went on the couch and lay down for a while. And maybe I fell asleep, I don't even know, but for about 15, 20 minutes. And then I was fine. And so we went back to work because, we just had these things to do. And I didn't think about anything anymore. We finished the day working normally, and it's only after 2 or 3 days, that I noticed that, I could stand up for a long time and have no pain in the bottom part of my legs from the knee down. And I thought, oh, that's strange. And then the second day went by, third day, and I observed this, that it just never hurt anymore. And I could stay standing up for just as long as I wanted, and it never hurt. And since then, that was 2 months ago, maybe more now, maybe almost 3 months. And since then, we gave a 5-day training where I was standing up almost all day. And usually at the end of the day, of a training day, my legs are tired, so I have to sit down. But I was fine. So that confirms it. And that's when I told you about it, because I wanted to make sure I wouldn't tell you something that was a bit like a 1 minute wonder, like we have with, the tapping. So really, I must say that it's been 3 months now that I'm just absolutely fine. And I can only relate this, what appears to be a resolution of my issue. I haven't been to the doctor to see anything, but I haven't had any more pain. So it was a daily thing. And so obviously something has changed. And I can only put it as a consequence or a side effect, I don't know, of that session I did with Anna, because that was the one where there was this thing that happened. And it was 2 days after that I noticed it, the change.
Yeah. Okay. So we don't know if there was some test to do, and we did some tests and looked at your blood veins and, they are now thicker. We don't know if that's the case or not.
No, we don't.
The only thing we really know is that you don't have any more symptoms.
Exactly.
Okay. I have lots of cases. I have a lady with leaky gut syndrome, for example, that no longer has any more symptoms. Now, has she gone through elaborate tests for the medical profession to say, it's really okay as far as our tests are concerned? No, she doesn't need to. I have another client with hepatitis C. She no longer has, after one session, actually, she no longer has, her down periods and her fatigue and all the stuff that goes along with that. It just, she doesn't have it anymore. And she doesn't even want to take her tests because they're very invasive and painful, etc. But she just doesn't have any more symptoms. So anyway, we have lots and lots of things like you're talking about that fall into the area of impossible, meaning that nobody knows how to cure it except we get unseen therapists involved and bingo. Okay.
It's quite amazing. It really is an amazing change. And what maybe I would like to add, if you don't mind, is that we've done Optimal EFT on many, many occasions in 2 years now, or maybe more. It's probably more, because we started with you more than 2 years ago. And it's not always that we get a resolution. I think it's important to say, because we need to go on and do some more. But I must say that a resolution like this one is a big wow, because when it happens, it's there. So I'm happy we did it, but it's interesting that it has really nothing to do, apparently, with the subject we dealt with on that session. And I really wasn't thinking, not 1 second, about this leg issue when we were doing Optimal EFT 3 months ago, 2-3 months ago.
But thank you. The likelihood is that somewhere within this emotional issues that you were dealing with, with the Optimal EFT and your husband, an unseen therapist, and this, somewhere in there was an emotional issue that had to do with why your veins are the way they are. Somewhere in there, it gets resolved, and once that gets resolved, then the physical manifestation doesn't need to be there. That's one of the little mysteries that we have. I've seen that before. I mean, we will deal with some heavy emotional stuff, not even thinking at all about the fact that somebody may have headaches, back pains, or other things. And the next thing you know, boop, those things fade. So this is another example of that.